I swore I wouldn't cry. Not in that hall covered in white flowers. Not with a string quartet playing a song I had once considered using myself. Not while my ex-fiancé smiled as if he hadn't left me 3 months before the wedding. I swore it. So I hired an escort. It wasn't revenge. At least, not just that. It was survival. When the invitation arrived, thick paper, gold lettering, his last name now next to another woman's. I spent 20 minutes staring at the sealed envelope as if it were a bomb about to explode. Then, I opened it and I accepted. On the same day. It was that night that I came up with the most impulsive and, at the time, most brilliant plan of my life. I would not go alone. I would not look abandoned. I would walk into that wedding with a man who was absurdly handsome, elegant, confident, a man who would make my ex wonder, for one miserable second, if he had made a mistake. An escort professional. Simple, the contract was clear. Impeccable presence, pleasant conversation, holding hands when necessary, maybe a discreet kiss if the mood called for it. Nothing more, nothing that involved feelings. Nothing real. At least, that's what I believed. The hall was crowded when I arrived. Crystal chandeliers, impeccably set tables, rehearsed laughter. Everything smelled of money and planned happiness. I adjusted my emerald green dress tight enough to look confident, loose enough to seem indifferent, and took a deep breath. My date would arrive in 15 minutes. That was the arrangement. In the meantime, I accepted a glass of champagne and positioned myself near the bar, watching the guests, trying to look comfortable in a setting that still hurt more than I wanted to admit. That's when he appeared, tall, very tall, a tailored black suit, tie discreetly loosened, like someone who didn't need to prove anything to anyone. His dark hair was perfectly disheveled, and when he smiled at the bartender, I had the strange feeling that the entire room adjusted around him. He turned and looked at me. It wasn't an invasive look. It was curious, calm, almost respectful, and then he walked toward me with the naturalness of someone who has always belonged wherever he steps. Champagne usually helps, he said, pointing to my nearly full glass. But it doesn't work miracles. I smiled, without thinking, a pity. I was counting on one. Weddings tend to have that effect on people, he continued, leaning his elbow on the counter. Especially when they're not yours. My heart skipped a beat. So he knew, of course, he knew. The escort would have been briefed, probably even trained for this type of conversation. You're early, I commented, trying to keep my tone casual. I don't like to be late, he replied, looking at me intently. Especially when someone seems to need support. Something in that sentence disarmed me. We talked about trivial things at first: travel, music, the over-the-top decorations. He was intelligent, witty, and had a presence that didn't feel rehearsed. He didn't touch me, he didn't force intimacy. He just stood there, with me, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. When my ex walked past us, laughing loudly, he placed his hand on my back. A simple gesture, protective, subtle. It worked. I saw it. I saw on the face of the man who once promised to love me that something had spun out of his control. And, for the first time that night, I felt something like victory. Thank you, I murmured, when he removed his hand. You're welcome, he answered, with a half smile. Not once did I question who he was, not for a second. It all made too much sense to seem suspicious. When the music grew louder and the guests started to dance, he leaned slightly toward me. Want to get out of here? Now, you seem to be here out of obligation, not choice. I looked at the hall one last time, my past dancing in the center, my pain-served inexpensive glasses. I nodded. I do. That's how I left my ex's wedding, with a man I believed I had hired. And that's how, without knowing it, I got into the car of a billionaire willing to pretend to be anything except indifferent to me. The car glided through the city as if the world had slowed down just for the two of us. I was sitting in the passenger seat, feeling the cool leather against my bare legs, all too aware of his proximity, of the subtle scent that mixed wood, spices, and something dangerously masculine. He drove with one hand on the wheel, the other relaxed, as if he had done this with me 100 times even though he never had. "Where are we going?" I asked, more for protocol than out of curiosity. "Somewhere better than a wedding," he replied, giving me a quick glance. I promise I shouldn't have trusted him so easily, but I did. The hotel appeared before us like a monument to quiet luxury and illuminated facade. Glass, gold, a doorman who greeted us with a slight, respectful nod. That should have alerted me, but I was too busy feeling my stomach churn with anticipation. The suite was on the top floor. When the door closed behind us, the silence fell, heavy, dense, charged with something that needed no name. The room was spacious, elegant, with an entire wall of windows revealing the city below, distant, small, irrelevant. He calmly took off his jacket, as if the place were familiar to him, and loosened his tie. "Wine?" he asked. "I'll have some." I watched his every move, every confident gesture. He didn't seem like someone who was acting. He seemed like someone who simply was. When he handed me the glass, our fingers touched. It was brief, but intense enough to make me hold my breath. "You're nervous," he said, his voice low. "Am I?" "You are," he confirmed, taking a step closer, "but it's not fair." My heart was beating too fast to deny it. "Are you always like this?" I asked, observant. "Only when it's worthwhile." The distance between us closed without me noticing. Exactly when. My body reacted before my reason could. The emotional exhaustion, the tension of the day, the accumulated desire, it all mixed into a dangerous impulse. I kissed him. The kiss wasn't delicate. It was intense, hungry, charged with everything I had been suppressing. He responded immediately, holding my waist firmly, as if he had been waiting for this since the first second at the bar. The kiss deepened, slow, provocative. He knew exactly when to advance and when to retreat, as if he wanted to keep me on the edge, aware of every sensation. My hand slid over his chest, feeling the firm body beneath the expensive fabric. He let out a low murmur against my mouth, and that was enough to make me lose any remaining shred of control. "Are you sure?" he asked, his forehead resting against mine, his voice hoarse. I nodded. The night dissolved into sensation, his attentive touch, the way he led me without ever completely dominating me, as if he wanted me to choose every step. There was no rush. In a distance, the world outside disappeared. When I woke up, the morning light was filtering through the sheer curtains. I was wrapped in the white sheets, my body delightfully tired, and my mind strangely calm. He was already awake, sitting in the armchair near the window, shirt open, a glass of red wine in his hand. "Good morning," he said. Noticing I was awake, I smiled, still half asleep. "Is this still in the contract?" I joked. His smile faded. He didn't disappear, it just changed. "About that," he began. I sat up in bed, pulling the sheet up to my chest. "What is it?" He took a deep breath, like someone about to undo a well-constructed lie. "I'm not an escort." The silence landed like a blow. "What do you mean? I thought you were," he explained. "When I saw you at the bar, I overheard part of your call. I understood enough to step into the role." My body stiffened. "You lied to me?" "Yes," he answered bluntly, "and I know that changes everything. But it wasn't for money." I crossed my arms, trying to sort through the confusion inside me. "Then who are you?" He looked at me for a few seconds, serious now. "No more games. My name is Daniel Moreau." He paused briefly. "My family owns some of the largest wineries in Italy." I swallowed hard. "Wineries? Tuscany, Piedmont, Sicily." He held my gaze. "Production, export, award-winning labels. I run the group." My brain took a few seconds to catch up. "You're very rich. A billionaire," he corrected, without arrogance. "Owner of wineries, old inheritance. Wine, land, tradition." I laughed, without humor. "So I spent the night with a wine billionaire, thinking I had hired an escort." "You did," he confirmed. And, for the first time in years, I was desired for reasons that had nothing to do with what I owned. The room felt different now. More elegant, more dangerous. You lied to me, I repeated, feeling the struggle between reason and the desire still alive in my body. I lied, he admitted, but everything that happened between us was real. He took a step toward me, and that's what scares me, because, despite everything, I felt the exact same way. The problem wasn't that he was a billionaire, it was the fact that, even knowing that, I still wanted him to touch me again. I should have left. That was the logical decision. The mature one, the sensible one. The one any minimally balanced person would make after discovering they had spent the night with a man who lied about who he was and who, by chance, was a billionaire owner of Italian wineries. But I didn't. I stayed sitting on the edge of the bed, the sheet still wrapped around my body, watching Daniel in silence. He didn't try to get closer, he didn't touch me. He just waited, as if he knew this moment couldn't be rushed. Say something, he finally asked. I'm trying to decide if this is all ridiculous or dangerously real, I replied. He gave a sad half-smile. I'd vote for the second option. I stood up, walking to the window. The city was still alive down below, indifferent to the fact that my world had just changed again. Do you understand how this sounds? I asked. I hired an escort so I wouldn't feel small at my ex's wedding, and I wake up next to a man who lives in a completely different universe from mine. I understand, he said from behind me, but you also need to understand that, for a few hours, I left that universe, and I don't want to go back pretending nothing happened. I turned to face him. Are you used to getting what you want, Daniel? He took a moment to answer. I'm used to people thinking they know what I want, he finally said. You were different. That hit me harder than I expected. I slowly gathered my things, getting dressed without ceremony. The mood between us had changed. It wasn't cold, but it was charged with something deeper, something that couldn't be solved with desire. What happens now? I asked. If it's up to me, breakfast, he answered. Then, a conversation. No more lies. I hesitated, but I accepted. At the hotel restaurant, I quickly realized that Daniel did not go unnoticed. Curious glances, overly solicitous staff, a manager who made a point of greeting him by name. I felt out of place, small again. Do you always live like this? I asked when we were alone at the table. No, he replied, I live surrounded. It's different, and me? What am I in all of this? He put down his cutlery. You're the woman who didn't ask for my last name, who didn't look up my face, who kissed me thinking I was just an available man. I swallowed hard. I don't know if I have room for this, I confessed. My life is simple: work, bills, routine. I barely survived the end of my engagement. I'm not offering you a fairy tale, he said, seriously. I'm offering you truth, even if it's complicated. His phone vibrated on the table. He looked at the screen and his jaw tightened. Trouble? I asked. Reality, he answered. The press found out I didn't sleep at home last night. I frowned. Is that news? When you are who I am, everything is news. That was the first time I felt truly scared. After breakfast, he walked me to the hotel door. No kiss. No empty promises. Just a look. That was too long to be casual. I'm going to Italy tomorrow night, he said. My heart sank. Of course you are. Come with me. I laughed, humorlessly. You're insane. Maybe, he admitted, but I'd like to show you my world before you decide you don't want to be a part of it. I shook my head. That's not a simple invitation, Daniel, I know. The silence between us was broken by voices and cameras on the other side of the revolving door. A growing buzz. My stomach churned. They don't know who you are, he said, moving closer. Yet, but they will, he finished. And when they do, nothing will be simple. I looked at him, at this man who in less than 24 hours had messed up everything I thought I knew about control, power, and desire. I need time, I said. I'll give it to you, he replied, but don't disappear. I wrote my number on a napkin, a simple gesture, old-fashioned. Too intimate, don't promise what you can't deliver, I warned. He smiled, that dangerous way of his. I only promise not to pretend to be someone else. I left the hotel without looking back, but the taste of wine was still on my lips, and the feeling that this was far from over pulsed in my chest like a delicious threat. The silence after Daniel was louder than any argument I had ever had. I returned to my life like someone returning to a place that no longer fits. My apartment seemed smaller, my job automatic. The nights too long. I tried to convince myself that this story had been just a detour, an intense weekend, a well-told lie, an impossible man. But then my name appeared on the internet, not my full name, just a blurry photo of me leaving the hotel, my back to the camera, with a vague headline, "Who is the woman who spent the night with the Italian wine billionaire?" My stomach sank. The messages started coming. Curiosity disguised as concern, distant friends reappearing, people who never cared, now wanting to know. And, in the midst of it all, a single message from him: "I warned you. And I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. I didn't reply that night. I opened a bottle of cheap wine. It wasn't Italian. It wasn't sophisticated, but it was what I had. I drank alone, sitting on the living room floor, thinking how unfair it was for someone to enter your life like a hurricane and then leave, leaving everything out of place. On the third day, the invitation arrived. A simple envelope. No logo, no ostentation, just my name, handwritten. Inside, a short card: "You owe me nothing, but if you want to see me without masks, come. Tuscany, 1 week." There was no promise, no guaranteed future, only the truth. I stayed up all night. I thought about my ex, about the perfect wedding that wasn't mine. I thought about the woman I had been when I hired an escort to pretend I was fine. I thought about the night I was desired without anyone knowing who I was, not even the man who was with me. And I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of me, of what I could feel, of what I could lose, of what I could gain. 3 days later, I was on a plane. Tuscany didn't feel real. The hills rolled like living paintings. The vineyards stretched as far as the eye could see, green, organized, patient as if time there had learned to wait. Daniel was waiting for me near the main house of the winery. Light-colored shirt, sleeves rolled up, no suit, no city, no defenses. When he saw me, he didn't smile right away. He just took a deep breath, like someone giving thanks in silence. "You came, I needed to know," I replied. We walked among the vines. He told me about the weight of his last name, about inherited expectations, about how everything there was built to last, except for the people. "And you?" he asked. "What do you want to last?" I thought for a few seconds. "I want to stop pretending," I said. "Even if it hurts." He stopped. Me too. There was no request, no exaggerated promises, just a slow, conscious, chosen kiss, not impulsive like the first one, but much deeper. That night, we drank wine looking at the stars. Not the most expensive one, his favorite. The one he saved for when he wanted to remember why he had started all this. "Stay," he said, softly, "not forever. Just for now." And, for the first time in a long time, I understood that some choices don't ask for guarantees. They ask for courage. I stayed, not because he was a billionaire, not because Italy was beautiful, but because, next to him, I didn't have to pretend to be bigger, smaller, or different. I just had to be real. And that, finally, felt like enough.